well, me and my good mate Dylan Napa, we used to like take my dad's scooters when we just got our licenses. We used to like take him, ride him around, and then I remember we were up on the North Bondi headland and we were just doing doughies on the scooter.
Is this 2011, 2013 days?
Oh, like it was probably like 2014, I think.
Because I remember seeing these videos on social.
Yeah, we were now looking back on it, we were young, man. This is really 10 years ago, but it was around 2014, 15, and Narps just kind of named us the North Bondi Scooter Club or something like that. Then we ran it. We were just talking shit with my dad, and then my dad was like, "Oh, you throw a Motorino, it's, small bike in Italian."
Alrighty, g'day. Welcome back to another episode of A Lot to Talk About. It is your boy, the captain, the ship, the man in charge, Bradley J. Driver. You can call me Brad. You can call me Braddo the Cat. Whatever you want to call me, I'm sweet with it. If you're listening, if you're watching, I'm a fan of you, so thank you. We're here today. We're seaside.
Yes.
Seaside. That's got another meaning, but we're actually seaside. We're in North Bondi. And, if you come to North Bondi, you come for usually one of three reasons. The first is a little bit of salt and sun. A little bit of ocean therapy.
Love that salt and sun.
Yeah. Maybe the second reason is because it's the home of the Chooks.
Home of the Chooks, brother.
Home of the Chookies. How good.
Love
the third reason is maybe you consider yourself a moto.
Yeah.
And if you know, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. So being a moto is a part of a lifestyle.
Yeah, man.
It usually means you're kitted out in a little bit of North Bondi Motorino drip, head-to-toe stuff. Head-to-toe stuff. And that's what we're here to talk about today. North Bondi Motorino, the brand, you may have heard of it. By the end of today, you'll know a whole lot about it. But I'm here with one of the co-founders, the man that they call Claka Bulk.
Yeah,
so ladies and gentlemen, from your home, your car, or wherever you are, give a very warm welcome to the one, the only, Clarrie Moore.
Hey,
how are you, brother?
Hey, what's happening, man? Thanks for having us on, bro.
Pleasure.
I'm glad we could finally kind of make it work out. We were just chatting over the last couple of weeks, and I was like, yeah, man, I think, coming into the new year, especially when you kind of do your own potty and stuff and you're asking for other people to kind of jump on. I was like, mate, keen as to just, I don't know, try me on the other end of the mic as well.
Bro, it's good. And this is nice for me. Like for anyone who knows me, then I've got one of these soundboards. If you're watching, you'll be able to see it. If you're listening, you won't. Got one of these soundboards from Rhodes sitting in my studio.
Yeah.
I need to learn it. And today we're just operating on it. So I feel like this is, it's serving two purposes.
Great
conversation, mate. But also a tutorial and podcast.
School, mate. Talking to me. It's good stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
Really appreciate you having me here. Really appreciate you coming on the show. For me, there's always a few things. Whenever I have someone on the show, it's usually because I'm interested in their story or I'm about what they do. And both cases apply to today. Yeah. I love the brand. I love what you guys are doing. And it's kind of, it's interesting when you start to see so many people that you're not necessarily always connected with, but rather follow and connect with what they're doing on social, speaking about one thing. Yeah. Or living a lifestyle or being a part of a brand, a part of a community. Yeah. You start to think, what's going on there? And I got intrigued with North Bondi Motorino probably a year ago.
Yeah.
When I started seeing mutual friend and obviously second half of the Motorino. Grunty, his brother-in-law.
Benny
Seymour. He started sharing a little bit of stuff and most of the people who listen to the show would have watched Benny on the show. Will know that he's a big part of my marathon prep and a good mate of mine. Yeah. But I started seeing a bit of what you guys are doing and, being in this Bondi area. Yeah. Seeing a lot of the Chooks boys get around it. And I was like, I love that. So talk to me about the beginnings of the brand and where that idea or that want to create something actually come from.
Yeah, cool. It was a pretty long time ago now, but it kind of started as a bit of a G-up. Me and my good mate Dylan Napa, we used to like take my dad's scooters when we just got our licenses. We used to like take him, ride him around, and then I remember we were up on the North Bondi headland and we were just doing doughies on the scooter.
Is this 2011, 2013 days?
Oh, like it was probably like 2014, I think.
Because I remember seeing these videos on social.
Yeah, we were now looking back on it, we were young, man. This is really 10 years ago, but it was around 2014, 15, and Narps just kind of named us the North Bondi Scooter Club or something like that. Then we ran it. We were just talking shit with my dad, and then my dad was like, "Oh, you throw a Motorino, small bike in Italian." And then we were like, "All right, North Bondi Motorino Social Club," because we used to run around Bondi. pretty pissed when we were like 20, like doing parkour, and we call ourselves like the parkour club or something, like just being idiots. And then anyway, I remember watching one of his games, and then these two kids just like put up a photo with like a poster saying North Bondi Motorino Social Club and like hashtag bulk ledge or something. So they were just buying into Dylan and what he was doing. And that kind of from there, I was like, that's mad. And then a few of the boys were getting scooters. So Paul, sorry mate, close the door, mate. Fuck, I just messaged him before as well, been like, don't come in and just throw the fucking letter in.
Who's that?
The old man.
The old boy. Mine does the same, bro.
Yeah. But then I saw that, and then I kind of like, because a bunch of us had scooter licenses, I like made up like this crappy design, got a friend to kind of draw it up in graph design, made some T-shirts, and then just kind of made an Instagram. We were just mucking around with it. And then I was kind of like, came back in 2017. I was like, I'm going to have a bit more of a go at this. And I kind of been away. And I was like, I got one more year of footy left in me. I was down at like playing East, but I was like, I'll try this thing out that's going on, see if I can make anything out of it. And then I was going all right, trying to do it. And then I was getting Grunter to help me out with a few things, Jack Grant, because he was doing a bit of design. And we were playing down at BC's together, and we were riding all our, hit their posties and stuff down to training. And then pretty much he jumped in at like the end of 2018, was like, I'd like to help you out, like properly. Like, I feel like we've done a bit together and we're working well. This is something I've wanted to do for ages.
It's mad.
Yeah, I want to jump in. And I was like, yeah, all right. And man, me and Jack both have like no idea what we were doing, especially back then, you know what I mean? But I don't know, we've just kind of like winged it along the way, make mistakes, and just you're learning on the go. And it's kind of a slow way to do it, but I don't know, we've gotten ourselves to a point where like we're pretty ready to pop and just go like proper big, which is exciting.
You know what? You touched on something there, which I actually think is a really good point. It's something I was having a conversation with a mate of mine about recently. When you said you didn't really know what you're getting into or what you were doing, I think there's something to be said for a little bit of positive naivety, right?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Sometimes if you know too much, you just don't make the move, because if you'd had all the people say, hey, well, there's this involved, there's that involved, there's these issues that can come up, you sometimes maybe get talked out of it.
Yeah, it's a good point, hey. Like,
bro, I was the same when I started this podcast. I remember starting and filming 3 eps before I released. I released on Feb the 12th, so we're coming up the 2-year anniversary, right? Yeah. And I remember saying, within a year, I'm up there with Rogan, hey.
Yeah.
Like, I'm up there. I'm not even anywhere close, bro. I'm so far from Rogan. I'm fucking Earth and he's another galaxy, right?
Yeah.
But I remember at the time thinking, oh yeah, that's fully possible. And had it have not been for that little naivety that just got me to push, like I always loved storytelling and conversation. It's probably the thing I've loved consistently throughout the course of my whole life. I've done it in many different forms, and there's always been different vehicles to do that. Podcasting was one that sort of sprung up and become more accessible. I'm so glad I had that naivety, and I guess it's probably the same for you guys now.
Yeah. Like, if you told me at the start, like, oh, have you sorted out your logistics? Have you sorted out a big business plan? You know, and obviously when you're starting out with a business, you do want to have like a plan. Don't get me wrong, but I was still young. We were both young as where it was just an idea we were trying to create. And then, there's probably at points where people are like, bro, what are you doing? Or like, oh, mate, is it worth it? But then you hear someone being like, just go. And like, I don't know, it's kind of been a thing for us both. Like, I've just kind of, I don't know, followed this unknown reason as to why I do it. But then now that it's becoming good and better and stronger and more legitimate, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm doing a lot of things that I love doing. And if I can make this like, you know, my full-time job, which is slowly becoming, and make it this big thing and it's just like fully happening, then I'll be laughing, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm looking forward to the day where you tell people, not that you've had that many people, like, you won't fucking make it, but like just being like, it's probably to yourself. I mean, like looking back, I'm like, I did it.
100%. It's that little bit of self-gratification where you know you've done something you loved and you made it happen.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm sort of in that same headspace as you where I've found things that I love. Like I've been in careers where there was no passion.
Yeah.
There's no purpose. Like the reason to get out of bed in the morning was because if I'm not there, I'm fired. Yeah,
exactly.
And so it's like you feel like you have to, but I feel like I'm in a stage of my life where I get to. Like I get to do the things that I love, and they're not exactly financially stable at this point in time, which is part of chasing the dream, right? It's part of taking a risk.
Taking a risk.
I feel like if you can craft a life where we're in a society where the foundation or the thing that everyone seems to be striving for, and I think it's slightly changing, especially off the back of the last few years, but everyone's striving for financial success. That's kind of what, that's almost taken over as the definition of success as a whole. Instead of being financial success, success is financial. Yeah. And for me, that just doesn't, like, it doesn't motivate me. No. And I've been in a spot where I was earning relatively cruisy coin and could have been earning a lot more if I just stayed and done my time, but just didn't fucking like getting out of bed in the morning. And I'm like, that ain't worth it for me. So I want to be in a spot where even if the financial is far less rewarding, if I can sustain some sort of normality of life and pay for some food on the table, sort the bills, and, you know, if I'm getting up smiling in the morning with some real meaning. Yeah,
which a lot of people don't have, man.
And that's it. And I think that's got to be like the restructure of society. And I think for a lot of people, if it's not your career where you get to have meaning and purpose, it's got to be something outside of it. Yeah. And I see a lot of people, unfortunately, who fall into the trap of work a 9 to 5 that they don't like. Yeah. And understand that may be a necessity to pay the bills to get by. Yeah. To make sure that life is sustained, that the family is fed. And, you know, I'm no dad. Yeah. I'm no caretaker. I've got a little Jack Russell and his feed costs about $35 every 4 weeks. You know, like it's not that hard for me to look after my young one. But I feel like if that's your situation, then you've got to find the things outside of it. It's got to be the morning routine or what you do after work that gives you some sort of meaning, because everyone deserves to have that in life. I know, yeah. And you can see some people that will do, well, they get engulfed or consumed in their job, and like it doesn't end up, well, that becomes their life, but then they don't enjoy it. And then you're like, well, then what are you doing? But I don't know. Sure. I think there's a lot of people that are slowly realizing that now. I had a good friend who I was doing that radio show with, and he would rock up just broken. Like, and I'm like, mate, you got to get out. And he's like, oh, I think it was like March. He's like, I think I'm going to leave in June. I'm like, June, bro, that's too long. Like you're walking with like your shoulders shrugged, like your head down, like so broken. And I'd never seen him like that. I'm like, get out of it now, man. Yeah, for sure. Have you ever felt that at a stage in your life? Like I had my troubles growing up. But yeah, I lost my mum when I was like 14. Sorry to hear, brother. Yeah. Thanks, man. Oh, like it's all good. It's all part of, definitely part of my story, obviously my family story, and what was like obviously such a big tragedy. I don't know, it definitely gives me motivation for doing what I'm doing. Like when it happened, it was so, like I was even chatting about a friend the other day, how formative it was to my life and just what a left-hand turn everything took because of it. But like she left me in pretty good, like a mental state of just like being hungry to want to chase, you know, sporting career and work hard, and had a good support network with my sisters and stuff. So you kind of have those days when you're at school, like, you know, walking around and just like, fuck. But then I don't know. And then in the same breath, I got to year 12 and I was like, worked super hard at my studies, trained super hard to become a footballer. That's all I ever wanted to do. And then I don't know, you just kind of get through it on the other side, and you just know that, I don't know, you just keep working hard and believing in yourself or believing in what you're doing and being happy whilst doing it. Then that's a pretty good kind of chili bowl of stuff to keep moving forward in life. Bloody oath. You know, it's interesting you say that, because obviously at the time of losing someone you love or going through an extreme hardship, it feels like your world's falling apart. And I think what I've realised is I've got a lot of mates who unfortunately don't have one of their parents around, and some have passed, some just don't have them in their lives. And I've seen that perspective, and that's a perspective I've not known, because I've been really blessed to still have my family. But then I've had my challenges in the health realm, right? And we sit down and we talk about this a lot. Yeah. It's quite interesting that I think our group is formed almost in a sense that we've all had similar or different hardships that we've been able to connect on, and we talk about that, and it is ultimately a driving force, and it's a massive perspective shift to understand what's really important in life. Yeah. And I think whilst at the time it can feel like your world's falling apart, it can be the greatest lesson that you ever learn. Yeah, exactly. It's like that probably why you're geared like this now. 100%, a double-edged sword. But I don't know, when you're 20 and like my mates are watching their parents, like, you know, butt heads, you know, your two loved ones, and butt heads to the point where it all just implodes. And they're broken because they definitely know how old they're, like, they know what's going on and how gnarly it is. And I've kind of been there, and I'm like, mate, like, I'm empathizing with you. This is like a horrible thing to go through, but
like hang in there and it'll come good. And then now you watch them and they are motivated by that kind of hardship to be a better person, to their spouse, and like,
yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of motivating in that sense, because I'm like, mate, I don't know what it feels like to what's happened to you. So we can bond on the tough experiences, but we've both got our own shit, and like you've got your own shit, and there's no measuring stick as to what's more wild than the other. You know what I mean?
But I love it you say that, because it's something I've been talking about a little bit lately, right? Is it's easy to look at your circumstances and say, man, I'm a victim.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the hardest thing that anyone could go through. And I had an absolute legend on the pod the other day. I don't know if you know James Storer, played for Fiji in 3 Rugby League World Cups.
Oh, right.
Jimmy,
yeah. Sick. Actually, I saw that on your Insta. Yeah.
He's an absolute ledge. And he keeps saying to me, he's like, brother, I feel like a spoilt brat. Like he had a very tough childhood. He's like, no, I feel like a spoiled brat when I sit and listen to you share your story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, not at all, bro. And I'm like, and that's the thing. What makes the mark of a good person is empathy. Because the minute you try to measure, then compare. It's just like, well, exactly. It doesn't work well. No. It doesn't work well. Then the victim mentality seeps in.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'm starting to learn, and it even applies to social causes, like there's a lot of, we're in a world where there's a lot of cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
And it's really easy to jump on that bandwagon and shit on someone who's maybe made a mistake and say, fuck them, get rid of them from society, remove them from their position, remove them from their opportunity to share on social media or whatever it may be, and say that, you know what, like I'm righteous and I'm going to weaponize that wisdom and cast them down. But ultimately, that gets no one anywhere. No,
it's just bad, just energy and bad support, and you just end up, pointing fingers, and there's no ownership on anything.
100%. And, you know, I think it takes empathy for... It's actually interesting, really sad, but a young fella in our area passed away recently. I'm not sure how he passed away, but he had a lot of mutual friends. I didn't know the guy, but a bunch of people had been sharing stuff about him. And there was this post getting around that he'd shared a little while back, and people started to share it to really show the sort of mark of a good human this guy was. And there was a line in there that spoke about how as a society we're so quick to shoot each other down and act righteous, but empathy is what allows us to grow and understand where someone is ignorant. And if you are ignorant to their ignorance, society goes nowhere. It just goes further backwards.
We're just butting heads. And
right, 100%. And I think that's the thing, right? So
if you're ignorant to their ignorance, I like that. Yeah, then where are we going? Nowhere.
Nowhere, bro.
We're just going to go in a circle of just bitching at each other and just, oh, you're such a dog.
Well, that's it. And definitely not forward. And that's probably what worries me about society the most now, is we're all so easy to jump on the... we get information so quickly and from so many different sources. It's like the first thing we see is the first thing we believe. Then we use it as our reasoning to attack that or this or whatever it may be. But that's the one thing I think has connected me to your brand and what you guys are about and what all of your mates are about, is this connection of community and like growing and trying to help each other grow. And that's why I'm always really grateful when someone comes back and says, hey, I'll jump on the pod.
Yeah.
And it's why when I've had the opportunity to share my story, like you said, you try to do the same, because that's what it's about. It's about helping each other grow, and you know, then we all move forward in the right direction and get a little bit closer to the dreams and the goals.
I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome, man. And it's kind of, it's cool because I can obviously sense and feel that drive that you have, and that how much better you want to make the world. And I think definitely when I was a little bit younger, I think naturally my ambitions have got a lot more selfish, but I think that's just natural as you get a bit older and you find your path, I suppose. But when I was a bit lost, and not lost, but you're just young living and you don't quite know your younger 20s. And I remember just being like similar sort of thing. Like I just wanted to, I don't know, be a voice for people that have been through hardship and kind of making it out on the other side, and being positive about, just being like, hungry to still attack life and not letting the challenges that you've had just be the end narrative to it. Like write your own new path sort of thing.
It's what you just said there, right, about almost like your path becoming a little bit more selfish. It's funny because I'm a big fan of Matthew McConaughey, right?
Yeah.
Read his book, listened to it twice. Everyone who listens to the pod knows I'm a fan of that
book,
right?
It was an epic listen, bro.
Right, it was unreal, especially with him narrating it, right?
Oh, dude.
You'd recognise there was a part of the book where he talks about selfishness being the ultimate selflessness.
Yeah.
Because if you've got all of yourself, you've got so much more to give.
It's it's beautiful, eh?
Yeah, and I'm like, that's something that I needed to learn, because I was probably, I think at my nature, at my core, both my parents are very agreeable people. My dad can be pretty like he can be a pretty forward fella, if he has to be. We always say Dad's the nicest human being you'll ever meet. Me and my sister say he's got resting, want to belt the fuck out of your face.
Yeah.
Because if you just looked at him and you didn't know him, you'd go, fuck, that's a fella I'm not.
I'm not going near him, mate.
He's a big unit too. Yeah. So, but he's one of the things that I recognise in my parents are they're both people that will do whatever they can to help the people around them.
Yeah.
They'll go out of their way for people they don't know.
Yeah.
And I take a lot of that from them, and probably even a little bit more extreme, where I'm a bit of a yes man. I'm a little bit agreeable at times.
Yeah.
One thing I'm trying to get better at is being a little bit more selfish with my time.
Yeah.
And selfish with how much I give.
Yeah.
Because I found myself a little bit at times having given so much, but being so empty myself. And it's probably what kept me in careers that I wasn't passionate about, because I felt like I needed to continue to provide a service to the people who'd given me a job. I can't leave, they need me.
Yeah.
And then I feel flat. I've got nothing left to give, and I'm actually not giving them 100% anyways.
So then, that's where you're not giving back to them. Once, I think that's the mark of a young man that wants to take on the world and wants to do right by the world. I think those characteristics that lie deep in your DNA, sort of thing, like in your bones, are what's going to carry you to good success. Because you'll slowly start figuring out, and which I found with myself, I slowly started figuring out what my path needed to be, and then how. Once you kind of get your structure down, then you can kind of start bringing everyone up and around you.
For sure.
But I think that's maturity as well, man.
100%. It's almost like when you're young, your compass is just spinning in circles. And, you're trying to head in some direction.
Yeah.
You're trying to find some destination, but ultimately, as you get older and more mature, that compass finds its true north.
Yeah.
It finds its true north, Bondi, brother. And
tries to your MB, baby, and you're just going for it.
Exactly. Talk to me a little bit about, obviously the brand's got an identity.
Yeah.
And part of that, I guess, is formed from where you live and the sort of things that you guys are into.
Yeah.
How closely do you look at the brand being a North Bondi brand and the brand being more so just the stuff that you guys like to wear and the fashion that you're inspired by?
It's mate. It's like, I think one of our biggest conundrums, I think. Because that's the thing. I think Jack and I, we're quite diverse people in what we're about. Like, Jack's from Orange. He's he's a country boy, and he's got that little country mungle in him. And then he's also like kind of this sexy little dope. He's good at he's a bit arty, got his good photos, and he's good behind the lens, and he's got this epic fashion taste.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of a bit, but then he's like a professional footballer as well, and he doesn't quite fit the mold of your professional footballer maybe. And then I was the same, like kind of doing serious footy, but then, I love doing the videos. And so we've got all these different aspects, and we love surfing, but then we love kind of, I don't know, a bit more street and urban-y stuff. And you're trying to put that into like one way or one kind of clear identity, which I still think we're trying to find.
For sure.
And I still think we're in that infant stage where we're just trying to nail our branding, because we can release one bit of clothing and it looks like totally different to the next range.
Yeah.
But I think the North Bondi thing, I think it's like we've obviously made a clear change to kind of be like Motorino. And I think that might even slowly go into Moto. Like,
yeah, I like it.
Yeah, Moto just has a nice ring to it. But then I don't know. That's the thing, because I started this and loved the whole North Bondi thing because my mum was just mad on Bondi, like loved it. Like there was a stadium on Bondi Beach for the Olympics, like a beach volleyball stadium, and she was just like, no fucking way, like, and protesting, like no stadium on Bondi, like just like super proud about it. And then I don't know, I think I carried that love for it, and like her mum was from here. My sisters don't have it as much, but I just had this massive, I don't know, just inkling in my body to just kind of like passion and love for it. And so I think that's a big thing about it. I wanted to tell the real story of Bondi. Like, it's not a bunch of fucking loser wankers. They are here, and there's a lot of like money. Bro. Yeah, but there's just dickheads everywhere, right? Yeah. So I want to try and show this cool side, and that's kind of just how it started. So I think although we will do our own thing, I think we kind of keep the Bondi bit as our home, and that's the hard bit. It's like, do we, are we becoming one of those brands that are like another brand in Bondi, not just a clothing brand? There's Bondi this, Bondi that, like everyone jumping on using it at that name is like,
it's very marketable.
Yeah, it's marketable, but I hate how it is. So we're North Bondi anyway. Like, I think we're just trying to bring back its localism, because like I grew up in an area where this was just like young local kids. Your old dudes were around, and it was normal in the 90s and the early 2000s. And then like kind of when I left school, it's just just blew up.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, you just got to do what your thing.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
for us, if like we make cool content, like make cool videos that people either laugh at or just be like, that's cool. I think there's no real gauge on where that can be anything.
Yeah, you love a unique video on
TikTok
enough. But I see plenty of the boys sharing your stuff around.
Oh, mate. And like, but then that's the thing. It's like, is that part of being a cool clothing brand? You know what I mean? Like, is that what falls under the banner of a cool clothing brand? But maybe not, right? But then at the same time, in this day and age, and where brands are built around a social media presence, then yeah, it does, because people do connect with like the funny video, and what people laugh at is what they share, and that's what like engages them with it. And so I think we've got to keep going back to that and remembering that.
I couldn't agree with that more. Like, I think for me, as I get a little bit older and a little bit, I guess a little bit more certain of myself, I've realised that the best thing you can do to personally brand you is just be super authentic. Like, I remember when I started the pod, it was the Bradley J. Driver experience. That experience thing obviously gets tacked on from another podcaster that does really well with it.
I don't know which
Most
one.
people may know him. And I realised that it's sort of then become the experience with Bradley Driver. Then I realised that the experience isn't actually authentic to me. I'll never own that because someone else does.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what's my podcast about? Fuck, it's about many things. Do I try to brand it one way? Do I try to just specifically stay in a certain lane? And I'm like, fuck, I've just got a lot to talk about. There's your name. And that kind of made sense. It was me being more authentic to me. And even since, in the 2 years I've been doing this, I've tried to find, I guess, more consistent topics or more consistent style of guest. Ultimately, I'm just having the best time when I'm chatting to who I want to chat to.
Yeah.
Whoever caught my interest. And I think I'd like to pick their brain a little bit, or I'd like to hear a little bit more about their life or what they're doing behind the scenes. And when I'm in that flow and I'm just being authentic, everyone who listens or watches loves it the most.
Yeah, 100%.
And I found I actually went through a phase where I was trying to be more specific, and I was releasing like this monthly like wrap up of my month, and it was people's favorite episode every month. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, there's something to be said for me just being me. Outside of the constraints.
That's why they're listening as well.
What I think they want.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, that brand evolution is key, right? But we definitely take inspiration.
I think you got to, and I think you got to be smart. You can't just think like you got to be commercial in that sense. Like, and we know what we've got to be authentic, but you've got to like brush it up in a way. If I just did what I thought we should do, it would be a shit show, man. We'd be wearing fucking like singlets, just every day. Not really, but like I knew that I needed a brush up. Like Jack's got he makes the Instagram prettier, like just sexier, and like he brings a lot of the fashion direction. And then we kind of work together to make points. But I'm totally aware that I'm not the perfect candidate for it. But in the same breath, the soul that we bring is definitely something that is authentic. And I think we're finding that we still haven't nailed our branding, and branding evolution is something that I think will happen for everyone. Like you see Kia in the tennis, they've just completely changed their logo, and there's probably huge months of board meetings around the fact that they're going to bring and change their logo at the tennis, which they usually have. And even shit like that, like this is a worldwide company and just done a 180 or whatever it might be, and I think that is just part of just branding.
I think you even see it with like the bigger, more established brands. Like if you look like the big fashion houses, which I can't afford any of their stuff. If you look at the big fashion houses like your Gucci's, your Louis Vuittons, they pick up on things that are happening in society. Yeah. And they mould. Yeah. They mould all the time. And I think that's just natural. It's just like the evolution of who you are as a human being is similar to the evolution of the brand. What are some of the brands or individuals that you guys get inspo from?
I think, like we're pretty close to the Isaac John from YKTR.
Yeah, they're all legends.
Yeah, I really like them. I think just the way he does his thing, I'm kind of like, I've obviously look up to. And I was listening to his podcast when I was a bit younger, just been like picking up my pointers. Kind of an ex-footballer as well, so I kind of get that side of him, and he's helped us out a lot, like through different just I had a bed shit, like just shit hit the fan, and I just kind of called him like, bro, what the fuck do I do? Because we were just on the piss like the week before, and he kind of saved our life in a sense, or gave us a good steering direction. So something like that. And then I think, I don't know, inspiration, like you got all your clothing as well. Like I'm not a big, like on those big kind of commercial, big brands from overseas as much, but I think as we grow and we're trying to look towards the overseas market a bit and see what they're doing. I think we really like the Earls stuff as well. But then you kind of like, I think, like there's like, you know, the Aussie brands like Rhythm and Thrills and Barney Cool, say those three kind of big, maybe heavier hitters. I think we look at a lot of that, and because they're like quite smaller in the sense of they're a small team compared to say something like Industry. But we look at them and we obviously take the bits that we like out of them. We like the Thrills kind of edginess, like they're obviously quite unique and a bit streety, but then they're surfy as well, which we're kind of finding our groove in. And then Barney Cool's a lot more colour. But then they're a lot of cool. But then yours, because you watch them so much, you also see them evolve as well. And I think you got to you evolve with fashion trends, and fashion trends can be clothing. Fashion trends can be like what's cool in the world.
100%. I think almost. I actually like, and this isn't me pissing in your pocket because you're sitting in front of me. I actually like what you guys have got going on at the moment, because it's probably similar to the sort of style that I would usually wear.
Yeah.
Just like, especially with the button ups that have just come out.
Yeah, so we're pumping them out a lot more. Like,
yeah, which is cool. And I like it. And it's so different to some of those people that you've just mentioned.
Yeah.
They're not doing a lot of that stuff, but I get what you mean, where you get the inspiration from the way they design, create, and evolve. The YKTR boys have always been really good to me. Like, pretty much most of them have been on the pod, and Ice very early days. Yeah. During the first COVID lockdown, and then Simmy and Scope, we done a back-to-back at their place probably a year ago now. Yeah, lovely dudes. Lovely guys. And just like, I think that's the beauty of this community, right? And that's the one thing that I really love about Australia, and I see it in New Zealand too. I think I look to the States, and it's this powerhouse where they talk about opportunity, and I think we've got this good little thing going on down here in Oz where, and it happens in New Zealand too, where creators and small brands get around each other. Yeah. And it's not I think whilst there is a lot of tall poppy syndrome in this country still, we're getting better at going, hey, we can all win here. Yeah. There's plenty of market share for all of us, right? Yeah, like, exactly. We can all win. We can all move in the right direction. Yeah, and don't blame someone else if like you're not getting what you want, because at the end of the day, like, look, I'm naturally competitive as well, like, and like you see like another brand just do cool things, you're like, fucking dogs, like, but that's me. But I'm a competitive guy. But then I'm like, there's no actual malice in it. It's that first initial reaction. But that's also that kind of driving thing. Like, for sure, you got full respect for what they're doing and how well they're doing. You're like, I just need to be better. We need to be doing more of that. And we need to be making stuff more like that. Like, you can bring out some of the t-shirts really bring out, and I'm like, fuck, that is not that good. And then now Jack and I, like this year, we're like, let's just really double down and making some more cooler gear. And I think, trying to nail into our market, which I have found, which is like, when it's mad, when you see people from like Wollongong and stuff buying some kit, and you're like, bro, 100%, like, we don't want to be too associated with Bondi, where the point is like, you don't want to feel like you can associate with us. That's just where it's from. Like, but you can associate with what we do, and that's play footy, get on the piss, like, hang down by surfing, skating, like just that whole like kind of coastal community that we've kind of grown up with. I love it. It's a really good way of putting it. It's a funny feeling, but a really cool feeling, I bet, when you see people walking around in the gear. Yeah. Which would be nice. Yeah, it is good. Especially like there was a period there where we were a lot bigger. Like, I remember I was chatting to her, maybe it was my girlfriend. She's like, I was like, oh yeah, $400 order. And she's like, oh, what, is that an eastern suburbs, mum? I'm like, no, it's going to Townsville. Like, that's cool. Yeah. And I was like, mate, for ages, because I think we were so North Bondi, and we had this, it seemed like a clique around our community that if you weren't in it, you weren't buying it. But then people outside of our area actually were the ones that resonated with us. And because we had a bit of a football influence, like through, like, you say your bigger footy stars kind of wearing it or sharing it, then our reach did go a lot further around the country. And I was like, man, I'm sent into suburbs that I don't even know, dude. Like, I've never heard of them, or towns, I had a much smaller scale, similar experience. I'd done a little bit of merch for the potty a couple months back. It was like middle of winter. Actually, it was probably August, because it was getting towards the end of winter. And I'd done crew neck jumpers. Like, the logo is baby blue, so we done the baby blue crews and just had the logo on it. And pods and vlogs on the back, and man, I think I got like 120 odd. I think we sold I sold 100. I kept a few and gave a few to family and friends.
That's awesome, man.
Bro, it was the coolest thing ever. I remember that like second week of selling these things, walking down the beach, and one morning, like if you're from the Gong, you get down to North Kiosk, you walk along the strip. You walk along the Blue Mile, you do your morning walk, your morning run, whatever you do, and then you jump in the ocean or you grab a coffee. Everyone kind of does the same thing.
Yeah.
Seeing those baby blues, man, I had people sending me photos. I'm like, fuck, this feels nice.
Yeah,
but then the same thing, I was sending some to names I'd never seen before, people I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find these people on social media to send them a thank you.
Yeah.
They're not even on social, and I'm like, how have these people connected with a brand? But it's a cool feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Where you're like, people actually appreciate what we're about and what we've created. And for me, it's more so what I've created content-wise than the actual clothing itself. It's more so, you know, they're about the listen or the watch. Yeah. But it's a great feeling. It gives you so much gratitude that, man, people are getting behind me.
Yeah, they get behind, and they get behind you, and I think that's a testament to what you're doing, and selling out 100 hoodies is pretty fucking good, man, because there was a period there where we were doing a lot less than that, and just kept going with it, and still probably going, oh, I don't know, 50's too many, like, and you're wigging out, but then you do just see people from all over the place buy it, but then even people closer to home that you might know or know of. And you're like, then that's like, there's no disjoint between you and me now. Like, it's just like, I don't know, tip of the cap as well.
Bro, 100%. I appreciate that. And likewise, I think what you guys are doing is really moving in an amazing direction. And like I said, I copped some of the Boardies, and I'm a fucking fan. Yeah, when I find a pair of Boardies that I like.
Which ones did you rock?
The navy blue with a white band.
Yeah. Sick.
And anyone who knows me will know that I pretty much wear them twice a day. Yeah. When I'm jumping in for my morning dip or afternoon dip, you know. And the funny thing is, when I find a good pair of Boardies, they just get absolutely used.
But that's good, man, as well. You just rinse them for a summer, and then you keep them maybe throughout winter and see what happens. 100%.
Like, I had a leopard pair of Boardies through last summer. I was never in anything else. Yeah. The leopards got to run every day. Yeah. My mate started calling me the big cat. Yeah. Because I got worn so much, but now it's like the navy blues, the navy blue motos. So
that's good to hear, man.
No, they're good. They're a good product. But I'm interested in the evolution of the content too. Obviously, we're sitting here. There's a Motorino sign on the wall. This is your soundboard and your mics. You've got a podcast, The Seaside by Motorino. Yeah. Talk to me about that. What was the inspiration to start communicating on this platform and connecting with your audience?
I think as when we were talking about that wide, the different types of the different hats Jack and I might wear, or more specifically me in this instance, I just knew that I've connected with a lot of different people from over my time, like, and a lot of them, be footballers, or like I just knew musicians, and I can talk music, I could talk footy, I can talk business, I can talk, whatever it is. Like, I feel like I got a good grasp, although not heaps good, but a little grasp on all of them. So I was like, that's something I want to do. And I think the input can be kind of low, but like not huge, but then the output can be, infinite as well.
Who's been your favourite guest?
Ooh.
Well, not even favourite, just because that's
one of my favourite ones. Yeah. I had Dom from Big.
He's a legend. He's been on my show.
Yeah, Big Twisty, and he's in a band. Like, I really enjoyed that chat because we were just talking about, like, a lot of it was music, and he kind of doing a similar thing to what I was doing. So I really enjoyed that, and that was in a lockdown. I actually had a mate on who was like and I wasn't allowed to release it. He was our strength and conditioning coach at East when we were there, and then he's now like working as an S&C for the Seattle Seahawks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and like we just connected when I was like 21, and then I went and saw him in America, and he was working for the Southern California State Uni. So like the Trojans. Yeah. And like he's showing me and Grunner around the like the gym, and I don't know, I just love chatting about like the NFL with him, and like the science and the sports science that goes in behind it, and the depths that they go into, because I just never really I didn't know about a lot of it, but I had so many questions. And when we were there, I was just fucking asking him. When I was first there, after we went to like the USA, like Vegas tour with Grunner and our mates, and I was just sitting there just asking him for like 3 days all about it, like the science behind it, And that's what I found I loved about it. It was just so interesting, and I wasn't allowed to share it because then he was like, I don't think I'm allowed to share it. There's too much like insider knowledge about the Seahawks and shit. And I was like, oh, so maybe I'll just send it to you on the slide.
Yeah, 100%.
It was just a cool potty to hear. And he like had his own tough upbringing and like kind of didn't really have any parents and was just did nothing in school and then just kind of climbed his way and worked his way to like being probably in one of the top jobs in the world for what he's doing.
You don't get yourself into an NFL side if you don't have some serious knowledge, eh?
Yeah.
Do you like the sport?
Well, like I got a lot of respect for it. I'm not a huge consumer of sport.
Yep.
Like, but I just, you know, I get that they are the peak of what they're doing. Like that's just like, you know, the amount of depth that they have in each position. So if you're on that field, it's like, it's wild. So I think I just got a lot of respect for just what a juggernaut of a machine of this industry that it is. And
100%.
it's played in only one country.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
I listened to your pod with Gus Cunningham.
Yeah.
Obviously being a Chooks boy, I'm a big Gus fan. Guy's an absolute legend.
Yeah.
That was a fun chat. The thing that I picked up listening to the pod, and I'm sure if anyone's listened or tuned into your pod, you've got like you are 100% you. Like you're super authentic.
Yeah.
There's no like, you don't sound like anyone else. You're not trying to be like anyone else. It's just like it's properly what you see is what you get on the pod.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you got to be, because when you're flying on the go, you just, I don't know, you're in autopilot in that sense. You're just kind of driving.
If you're trying to play a character, you can't do it in one take.
No, you can't. And what I really liked about Gussie's one as well is like, I suppose, I don't know, for him, I was like, I just don't want to do a big footy recap of your life. Like, you know, play by play your career and how it's gone. And, you know, obviously we're going to touch on these moments, but I suppose because I know him quite well and he's a good friend that like I felt comfortable to ask him questions about, you know, and get a bit more into the mind behind like a footy player like Gus and the actual the depths of his mind and his philosophies as a guy and as a human. And he's like, as well, a super diverse guy.
Yeah, I love that because that's something that like anytime I've had an athlete on, I try to get away a little bit from the sport because I'm like, you know, if I want to listen to footy chat, I'm probably going to go to like the white KTR boys or bloke in a bar.
Yeah, exactly
like
right.
They know the sport well, they talk about it consistently, they've got that consistent theme of guests.
Yeah.
So I love that you dived into it because I find that, I don't know about you, man, I love my sport, but like probably similar to you, I don't consume a lot of sport. Yeah. Like I just kind of know what's happening. I watch every Chooks game.
Yeah.
That's probably the only team that I like consistently. I enjoy my NFL and I'm a Rams fan, so I'm excited for a Super Bowl game.
Huge.
Yeah, so
that's going to be fucking sick.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm really pumped. I got a little ticket to a good venue for Super Bowl day. Shout out to his boy Elroy.
Yeah. Shout outs, bro. Fuck, that'll be all right. A few Monday beers.
Bro, I actually don't drink.
All right,
but a few Monday burgers.
Yeah, burgers and wings.
Yeah. Going down. But it's, you know, that's a long sport, man. 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 to 3.5 hours. So as often as I'd like to, I don't get to sit down and watch their games.
Yeah.
But what I do find I'm really interested in, more so than the sport sometimes, is the mindset and like what's going on in the lives of the players. Yeah. And I don't mean like the gossip side of it. I mean what makes that person the player they are out on the field.
What gets them out in the morning? Yeah. What got them out in the morning when they were younger? Well, still just a punter trying to make it.
100%, because I feel like for an athlete, and you'd know this because you've worked hard to be in that professional sports arena, when you've got an athlete, there is the competitive science and performance nature of who they are. Yeah. And that's what allows them to do things on the field. But I think no matter who you are, it gets to a certain point in a game where the skills kind of become a little bit irrelevant. It's a little bit like what's up here and what's in the heart.
Yeah.
And
good point, man.
That comes back to who you are as a person as a whole. Like what your anchors are, what you think of in that moment, what you go back to for strength, what you pull from. And I think that's a really interesting point. And I've found it's something that listening to guys like The Rock, when he talks about like his anchors in life and the things that make him really good in his business. And it's, for him, it is, you know, training and family. And you listen to these other guys, and I'm always really intrigued by what people's anchors are. So I guess I'll throw that question at you. Like, are there certain things or consistent elements within a day of your life or a week of your life that you feel like they keep you on?
Yeah, it's a cool question, man. Oh, yeah, I think I asked Gussie something similar, like your pillars or something. What's your kind of, just your foundations or something as well? Well, I actually did a bit of goal setting last week, and like 2 weeks ago, I went down to Gerringong by myself and like had this little
South Coast.
Yeah,
I was there last night.
Yeah, it's awesome, and now I've never done anything like that, so I was there for like a weekend, just in my van, just my dad's van, just thinking. But I think like I'm trying to be, like I was saying, more selfish, but just so I can go to where I want to be. But I've been such a social person, and making my friends happy, or like helping my friends when they're in need is a very big thing, and it does make me happy. And I've got a friend now who's like quite sick, and he had this gnarly operation, like cancer stuff, whatever. But I like went and saw him yesterday, and it just like, I'm going to hang with him this weekend. And it's not like I'm only there because this is this instance, but I was like, mate, I'm chilling this weekend. Let's full bro down, like, because he can't move much. So, mate, like, I'm happy to just sit here and let's just hang out, you know. And I feel like, I think that's a very big part of like my friendships and the relationships I made throughout my life are a very big anchor for me, and they've helped me to get where I am, and I can call on them for things when I need. And
I love that.
I think maintaining, it's not for everyone, and not everyone can maintain relationships, but it comes quite natural to me. And I think that's the way you play to your strengths. You're a social guy. Like, I'm trying not to go out as much, you know, but I got to go out because it's just what I love doing, in the sense of just being around people and just like being there and being present. And then I think I found this year, like with lockdown, I started ocean swimming a lot, which I was a huge swimmer as a kid, but then I had a bad shoulder since leaving footy, and I just whatever, never got around it. And I just got the crew of lads, and we just every morning 6 a.m. down the beach, like big ocean swims, like swam to Bronny and back one day. Like,
how far is that?
It's like 4 and a bit Ks.
Ooh, that is a big ocean swim.
I'm like, it was just a sick finding a community around training again, which I think I let go of at footy, because footy was such a big pillar and an anchor in my life. But I had to let go of it, and that's a big reason why I left, because I needed to go succeed in other things. So I had a bit of time away from it, and then I kind of found that back. Like, I got that love for it back. And I think obviously being in the water, and, you know, you're from the beach as well, you just like getting out of the water, like after a big swim.
No better feeling, bro.
And you go get a coffee with the boys, and you got to go to work, but you're still just like, bro, this is the best. And I've been working at my gym, which I love. And then like first swim of this week is tomorrow, and I'm pumped, like, you know.
That's awesome.
I think that stuff. And then, just obviously like my family, and I think just knowing where you're from and who you are, and they've made you the person who you are, and doing right and living each day to the best of my abilities to like kind of like not make my mum proud, but, you know, every day that you're kind of living, there's a bit of her living in you. And when you know that, and you feel like she'd be proud of what you're doing, then that's a really good feeling as well.
That's a beautiful way of saying it. Do you know Jared Port?
Nah.
So Porty was he was at the Olympics for ocean swimming, for the open water swim.
Okay. Is he a gong boy?
He's a gong boy, but he gets up here a lot on the weekends and swims with a lot of the boys down at Bondi.
Oh, really?
So he was at the Olympics. I think he ended up top 10 in the ocean swim. He was out in the lead for a while. His thing was blitz to the front and see if I can hold it. He's a legend, but he gets up here a bit, so I thought you might have known him. But bro, there's something about the ocean, hey?
Yeah.
And something about that community. I think that's the biggest thing. I actually had a conversation. I bumped into a couple outside the cafe, Lee and me, where I go every morning.
Yeah.
And I just I know him from being around town, and he's an old marathon runner, and she run marathons too. And they always ask me how I'm going and when I've got one coming up. And we started having a bit of a yarn, and we're talking about community.
Yeah.
And how, especially with training, if you can find a community that you can do something active and healthy with, it's good for you. It's a really, really good feeling. It's that sense of belonging that really it's who we are at the core. Like, we're tribal, communal people. And man, I've got that. So for me, it was probably life-changing. It's one of, if not maybe the main reason why I'm running marathons is because of the crew that I met down there in the Gong, which was the Active Boys Run Club. Yeah. And it was just two guys who wanted to get off the piss on a Saturday night. Well, hey, if we open up a run to the community at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning, it's pretty good motivation not to get too fucking hammered on the night before. So that's cool, now, man. Like, it's not even just active boys. There's plenty of active girls there. Yeah. And there's now like up to 50 people on a Sunday morning. We do Wednesday mornings. But that's that community that I went there, not because I enjoyed running. I fucking hated running. Yeah. But I was like, I like the idea of being around, it was like 20 or 30 people that'd get there at the time, connecting over a run, struggling through it.
Yeah.
Having an ice long black at the end of it, jumping in the ocean and having a yarn.
Yeah, it's good. And the vibes are high and you're all kind of on the same level as well, which is the best bit about it.
And you can't walk away from that at the start of your day and feel shit.
No, you can't, man.
Gonna feel good.
Yeah, it's awesome, bro. And I think, you're right. And sharing that load with someone, it's a nice feeling, like that kind of being out in the trenches with each other. And
definitely.
You're working hard and it's just good buzzy energy, man. And I feel like it's just obviously a testament to just like exercise in itself.
100%.
It's the undisputed king. Like it's just
so good
every time, bro. Anytime you're feeling a bit anxious, a bit wound up, give yourself a decent little flogging or just something, anything.
Just move.
And then you just after it, your body's just like, sweet.
I feel good now.
Yeah.
I feel good. I'm interested in, obviously as someone who gets around their exercise and loves that, you sound like you're right into self-development. Do you read? Do you listen? Like, is it podcasts that?
Bit of potties, yeah. I think I love the potties as well. I think I got into it a lot when I was driving a lot more. Yeah. But now, like, my commutes aren't as long, but, you do get on on the road for a drive and, you get pretty psyched up to listen to a good one.
Yeah.
I love kind of listening to, like, the big thinkers, like, kind of the Jordan Peterson, like.
Oh, I'm listening to his book at the moment.
Yeah,
12 Rules for Life.
He's got a wild vocabulary, but
there's a couple of Google search sessions that go on in the middle.
But that's kind of cool in itself, right? Like, you're just upping your ante in that. I think I need to read a lot more. I've never been a big reader, but I'm just trying to just chip away every day at doing something, and a lot of self-help, kind of but like, when you read a business book, what you find out is like you're just learning how to be a better version of yourself, and that in turn will make your business better. So I think that's a big realization for me. So I think, kind of a bit of both. I love potties, being able to do something and kind of like, and learn. Like,
I'm much similar to you there. Like, I'm definitely not I'm a competent reader, but I struggle to focus. Yeah. And I think it's just because I can't multitask while I'm doing it. Which is probably something to be said for being able to, walk away from your phone, sit and chill and read a book.
Yeah.
But I've found that, like, for me, like, I guess between 4:30, 4:45 when I wake up and like 6 a.m. when I go for a run or a walk, it's the best time for me to consume something because there's no other distraction in my life. Yeah. So while I'm having a foam roll, moving around, having a stretch, I'll listen to either an audiobook or a pod. Yeah. And I think the thing that I found consistent with a lot of the self-help books is it's much of a muchness. Like, it's very similar, but I think you connect well and you connect differently to different authors or storytellers. Yeah. And when you connect with one, you get some stuff out of it.
Oh, yeah. And you have that moment with it and then you just kind of binge it in a sense and, you're just loving it.
Right. One I couldn't recommend enough as a listen is Will Smith's book.
Really?
Unbelievable. How's this? Oprah?
Yeah.
Wise lady.
Yeah.
Her favourite memoir ever.
It's
her GOAT memoir.
Oh, really?
Will Smith's book.
Hectic.
Recent.
Okay.
It's like probably a 12 and a half, 13 hour listen, and he narrates the whole thing. He narrates, he raps, he sings, he does impressions. It's fucking mad.
Really?
It's grouse.
He's so a hell of a dude as well.
Hell of a life. And you listen to it. The thing I love about him, probably similar with McConaughey, nothing was given. Everything was earned. Everything was gut instinct, going after what you want. Yeah. Understanding your desires and crafting the world around you to make sure it happened. Yeah. And he come from a really tough upbringing. Yeah. And you listen to it and you go, fuck, man, respect to you because, you and I are quite, different lives, but there's nothing separating me from you. Yeah. There were no handouts along that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you worked for every ounce of what you've got.
Yeah.
And I love that. Another read that I loved was The Alchemist.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. I might have to go back to it because I remember I did read it, but a lot of the time I'm like half asleep through it. But just like it's a full philosophy book if you're just looking under like all the hidden meanings and stuff.
Bro, it made me quit my job.
Really?
Finish the last page. In the way that it's funny because The Alchemist for me was a book that I'd heard a lot of people talk about. So I heard a lot of like Will Smith, it's his favourite book. Yeah. Kobe Bryant's favourite book. I was hearing a lot of people talk about this book. And I said to my mum one day, I wasn't a reader at all at the time. And I wasn't listening to audiobooks, just podcasts. And I was actually going in hospital for 2 weeks. And I'd been quite crook in my lungs. And, when you're in hospital, you're looking for things to do, right?
Yeah.
And I said to my mum, should have bought this book that I heard a lot about, The Alchemist. My mum goes, I've got it.
Yeah.
So she gives me the
parents
copy.
have these books as
they
well.
Have them, right?
Yeah, I said the same to my dad.
Yeah, and My old boy wouldn't know. My old boy's more of a fucking get the races up on the phone and have a listen to that. But
Yeah.
my mum loves a book, right? And I had it there in the bag for 2 weeks and didn't touch it. I didn't touch it till 6 months later.
Yeah.
Starting to struggle a little bit at work, just felt like there's a lack of purpose. Mentally, I was really flat. And I would go and, in an effort to try and like find a bit of passion and love for my work again, my bosses at the time, who I still have a really good relationship, said, you know, maybe change your routine up a bit, be a little bit more flexible. So I'd go and work from a cafe for the first couple of hours of the day.
Yeah.
And so I was selling houses, so I'd go do all my admin stuff there in the morning.
Yeah.
And spend a couple of hours, and I'd have a coffee and a bit of brekkie there before, and I'd thought, you know, I need to take this book with me.
Yeah.
I just feel like I need to get my mind off work for a little bit in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'd get there at 7, grab a coffee, grab a bagel, start reading.
Yeah.
And I started to love this book, right? And by the end of it, what I realised is that quote in the book, which is one of my favourite quotes of all time: a person's only real obligation is to go in search of their personal legend.
Yeah.
Which is what they call sort of their meaning in life, right? And sat there and I thought about that, and I thought, am I doing that at the moment? Not even close.
Yeah.
I'm just going after money.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
And I just bought an apartment.
Yeah, right.
I had a loan.
Oh, fuck.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
I've not enjoyed this for 6 months. I've tried.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. So I finished that last page and I walked into my boss's office about an hour later. I said, hey, we need to talk. I can't do this anymore.
Really?
And,
how did they take it, dude?
Super supportive.
Yeah.
Super supportive.
Awesome.
I said to him, give me 2 months, because I didn't want to leave any of my clients in the lurch.
Yeah.
And they said, take 2 months. They said, make us one promise. You won't tell anyone for the next month. Just think about it. Internalize it.
Yeah.
Think about what it feels like to be leaving, just in case you don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And ultimately, by the end of it, I knew it was the right thing to do, and we're sort of moving into COVID lockdown anyways.
Yeah.
And I really sat and I thought about it, and I thought, no, this is the right thing for me. And ultimately what followed was the most formative year of my life. And
awesome,
2020 was a year that I learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
Figured out who I am, who I'm not, what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
And it was the best decision I ever made, and really it come off the back of that book.
Hectic, man. That's awesome.
I think you pick things up when you're meant to. You know, the universe hands it to you at the
right
right time.
And I think there's I don't know, like you can't, obviously there's no science to it, man, but like there is such a big spiritual, I don't know, there's a deeper meaning to what we're doing. And like, yeah, the world, or maybe it's just the way we perceive the world, and it just works in its own way, and it does, you know, hand you things, or, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And when things aren't, like, you just got to kind of follow that kind of gut instinct and do maybe what Will Smith or McConaughey were talking about, when no one's doing what they're doing, but you're just kind of following whatever it is telling you to do it.
It's a funny thought, because I wouldn't say I'm a super spiritual person, but I'm definitely becoming more spiritual.
Yeah.
One thing I heard the other day is that there's a great podcast. You'd actually really like it. Someone who's creating a business and creating a brand. A guy, Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah,
got a podcast called The Diary of a CEO.
Yeah.
He was broke, like stealing chips and coins off people's McDonald's trays.
Yeah.
And ended up creating a business called, I think it's called Social Chain, which was like a social media agency.
Yeah.
Sold the business, now worth $60 million. He's not 30 yet.
Really?
And he's a dragon on Dragon's Den, like the UK
Oh,
version
right.
of
Okay.
Shark Tank,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think he's the youngest ever dragon.
Oh, right.
And listening to this guy's podcast, he gets unbelievable guests. He's had Jordan Peterson, Russell Howard.
Sick.
He's had the one that I was listening to, Liam Payne. I've listened to a bunch of them now, but Liam Payne from One Direction.
Yeah, right.
And I was listening to something that this guy said, because he said, would you push your kids into the life that you had? And he said, I don't think you can ever prepare someone, no matter how old they are, for the success that we had.
Yeah.
He said, it's so overwhelming. He said, when you think of success, you think of freedom.
Yeah.
Money to do what you want, you know, opportunity to clear your calendar and go wherever you want to be.
Yeah.
It was actually quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It's quite restricting. There were quite a lot of rules, quite a lot
Yeah.
of things that we couldn't do and things we had to avoid.
Standards you got to
And-
live by.
Yeah, and he's like, at
That you
14 or
set.
15, that's really hard.
Yeah.
And I thought about that theory though, right? That like that sort of success is something you can never prepare someone for.
No.
But I think life can prepare you for things. And I think there's something to be said for the universe giving you the success that you've desired at the right time.
Yeah.
And I thought about like I said at the start of this app, my naivety in moving into the podcast world and thinking, I'm going to be like Rogan.
Yeah.
And you look at Rogan right now under fire, man, 11 million listeners, a lot of controversy happening, right?
It's crazy.
And I think if that was me right now, under that much scrutiny, at that point in my life, when I'm trying to figure out so many other things, would I be able to handle it?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Would I be as cool, calm and collected as he was? It took him 13 years.
And he got to the very peak of it, and now they're just people ripping him down.
100%. And I think
it's just so fucked.
It's that cancel culture, bro.
Yeah.
But I think it's a thing where I look at it and I think, success comes in many different forms, and all the things you desire come to you when they're meant to. And I think that's kind of what my spiritual awakening has kind of been is, I've got all these dreams and I'm a real dreamer. I believe that I can achieve great things in this world. And I think the older I get, the more comfortable I get with the idea of it may not happen when I want it. Yeah. But it'll happen when it's meant to.
100%, man. If you keep fucking working hard for it, man, like I think that's the main thing as well, dude.
100%.
And that's what everyone say. If you keep driving, keep working towards it, something good will happen as well. And I've had to think like that a lot, doing what I'm doing and being like, what am I doing? People around you are getting their big jobs and earning good money, and I've just got to you have those moments of weakness, block it out and just keep heading straight to where you want to be.
What do they say? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
That's it, mate. That's
one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
I want to finish off on two things.
Yeah.
One is a question, one is an intention.
Yeah.
Something that I've been consistently asking my guests over the course of this season.
Yeah.
Season 3.
Yeah, cool.
It's not really seasons of the pod, it just looks good.
Yeah, it sounds legit, right? Baby.
The first is a question. The question is, what's your biggest fear right now?
My biggest fear would probably be not this brand not coming into fruition. Like every day that's kind of like this thing, is it legit? And then you have your good weeks where you're like, man, I could take over the fucking world. But then when, shit's not happening and it's not going to plan and you can't get things right and you're just like, is this going to just crumble? And then is there going to be this point where I just turn off the account and I'm like, that's it, we're done. And that terrifies me.
Well, I think the fact that it terrifies you means that it means something to you.
Yeah.
That it's special, and man, I think you're headed in the right direction.
And I just it just can't happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And you're just going to do a good job by it, that it won't happen. And that's when I do get it going well and I'll be really good and we're pumping, I'll be like, fucking oath, man.
Bloody oath. Yeah. Hey, and that's a bit of a call out to the ladies and gents, the guys and girls listening to this pod. Get around the boys.
Yeah. North Bondi Motorino, baby.
Get around the motos.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to finish off on is, I always say to my guests that likely in 10 years we'll be looking back at this 4K footage and go, fuck, that's a little bit grainy and old looking.
Yeah.
But when you're looking back at it like that, in that day, in that time, in the future, I want you to set yourself an intention or a goal right now that you can look back and be accountable to.
All right.
It can be something small. It can be a day-to-day thing. It can be a long-term thing. It can be something you've been internalizing for a little while, or maybe something that you put down in that goal setting last week.
So something to look back on now. I'd say keep looking after yourself. Keep doing the right things that are going to make you and your business successful. And then in 10 years' time, you'll be looking back at that moment being like, you were worried, you were unsure. There was a lot of uncertainty, doubt, fear, but you kind of kept your head down. You did the right things to make it happen, and now look where you're at.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Mate.
Hey, I want to say thank you so much for being here on the show. Thank you for providing the studio.
No worries, Brian. This is really awesome, man. I really appreciate it. I'm proud of what you're doing, dude. It's cool to see.
It means a lot, man. It means a lot. To everyone listening, watching, make sure you keep tuning into the show. Give it a little bit of love. I'm going to make sure that this man's socials and the Motorino socials are all in the show description.
Yep.
Get around them. Give them some love. That's what this community is about, is building each other up, moving in the right direction, one step at a time.
Sick, man.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and watching. Be sure to follow, subscribe, share it with your family and your friends. Means the world. Take it easy.
Thanks, guys.